Hello, everyone. Welcome to Carrow Road on this pre-Halloween evening. This Saturday is the result. Norwich have won for the first time in 6 games. So that's good. And there's quite a lot to pick apart from this. These are kind of the really, really difficult games to unhinge and unpick. And there's nothing definitive that I can really offer. It's going to be much more a trickier set of scenarios to unwind, really. Before I get stuck into the game, though, I've been off for a couple of days, and it feels like there's been quite a bit of stuff spoken and various things in the couple of days I've been off. So I just wanted to just probably have my little very quick say on the elements. Interesting what Dean Smith said in the press conference before today, and I think that actually, when you're discussing style of play, it's an incredibly subjective view, and that becomes quite difficult. I would expect people to defend it, but I don't necessarily think that it's then the initial view is wrong. And I thought watching the Burnley game, being there, you could see how one side was building up and how effective that could be. And we know it because we've been through it. Norwich don't play like that anymore. They do other things well, but it is different. I think that's fair, but that's just my view. There was another video that went out from the finance director, Anthony Richins, and I'm sure plenty of you have watched it. One thing and apologies if I've maybe mentioned things too much. I don't think I have, though. I really hate talking about the media relationship with the football club. It's irrelevant. None of you really care. I would expect you not to care. Some will be interested, but it's a professional situation that I have to deal with. I don't really care. I still do my job. It makes some bits easier, some bits harder. It doesn't really matter. I've done it all before. If people think they're making a point, that's up to them. It's not really, because we're still here until they ban us. We're still carrying on. So, and I just think for supporters, it's about the engagement between the club and the fans, really. I mean, we maybe offer some of that, but some don't pay attention. It's fine. So there's this element. All I did want to say, I have not broken any trust. I have not done anything wrong. And there are things that I've written that people didn't like, and maybe the odd thing that I've said as opinions that people haven't liked. But that's it. And to be honest, as long as I honestly believe I'm doing the best job that I can in writing and saying things that I honestly believe, and my journalistic responsibility of listening to lots of different people involved and outside and internally of situations and trying to pick together the best overall picture of how things are, then I'm happy. I don't care if people don't agree with it. And I'll happily have that debate and still disagree with it. But I wouldn't want anyone thinking that I've been told something and then just lied or got it wrong or been naughty with it. It just hasn't happened. And that was potentially one of the things that came out from that video. So there we go. Football, hey? Yeah, what a game this was. Really horrible first half performance. I thought Norwich looked really broken in terms of their confidence. They had no shape to their play. They were individualistic. I thought Stoke set up well. They passed the ball well. They kept the ball well. They funneled Norwich into areas they didn't want to go into. And were incredibly unlucky, really, to be 1-0 down. They didn't necessarily create much themselves. But, I thought Norwich were lucky to go ahead. And it was a great moment for Aaron Ramsey. I don't think that actually would get lost. I mean, he later scored a wonderful second goal as well. But a great moment for him. And interesting speaking to him afterwards, where he was still... Oh, look, there's Anel. Hello, Anel. This is nice. Shouldn't you get home? I'm very good, thank you. Well done today. Great effort. Oh, he always watches it. There you go. On the TikTok and everywhere. He's a Hot Takes fan. There you go. Anel's a Hot Takes fan. He'll probably be doing some himself at some point. You should follow Anel on TikTok. Right. Well, that's exciting. In fairness, for all I've said about, it's good timing actually, for all I've said about the first half performance, Anel was the one visibly trying to impact the game. He was trying to grab it and do things and drive, doing the things he does, but it was someone trying to grasp things and take it forward. And I think that's why when he got withdrawn, the crowd really didn't like it. And I don't think actually the change that then happened when Norwich suddenly looked much more fluent was not really about Anel going off, but it certainly was about Todd Cantwell and Marcelino Nunes coming on, because Norwich suddenly had much more coherence in possession, much more quality, and more quality, more guile. It was just as Norwich threatened to score. So it was 1-0 at half time. Norwich scored 2 goals in sort of midway through the second half to put everything to bed. But just before they scored that second goal, it was noticeable how Nunez was starting to just knit some passes together, because Norwich have been really, really bad in possession. I mean, worse than the Luton game for me. Then they started passing some passes, and it was like, oh, you're starting to find each other. That's good. And it was like a switch. And then the third goal is made by a wonderful ball from Cantwell, picking out Nunez's run. It's a really smart stop, actually, from Bursic, or Bursic, I think. But Gabriel Sara is in to slide home the goal. The first goal owes a fair amount to Tema Pukki in terms of creating a shooting opportunity for himself that Ramsey then gobbles, but also Liam Gibbs' break from midfield as well. So they were the sort of breakdown of the goals. Yes, I think Cantwell and Nunez's introduction in the second half just made Norwich look a lot more like a functioning team. I think you can't get away from the impact of the 5 previous winless games, 4 of them defeats, and the result at Burnley. Norwich looked a bit broken in terms of confidence, as I said, and it looked like they had to work through that on the pitch today, which I tweeted, and they did. So in the end, there was quite a bit to think, okay, that's good. But a lot of the game was quite poor. I think it's quite telling that Alec Neil, who's of course the Stoke manager now, came in after the game and was like, look, the performance from Stoke was pretty good. It was just the quality that Norwich had in terms of taking their goals, and also the failure to take their own chances. And they did have a few here and there, some quite good ones, certainly from crosses into the box, and then free headers that they generally missed the target with. Nick Powell had a great opportunity with the game still at 1-0, headed over. And he knew that, because then when he made it 3-1 late on, Norwich, can they keep a clean sheet? No. Nick Powell scores very late on to make it 3-1. He barely celebrated, A, because it was 3-0 at the time, but B, I think he knew that if he'd just scored his header at 1-0, then maybe the game would have been different, because Carrow Road was absolutely ready for turning. All the stuff that's been said during the week, there are a group of supporters in this stadium who are really annoyed. They are not happy. They are turning up and they are ready to turn. And I'm not going to say whether that's a good or a bad thing, but it is a direct impact to events on the pitch, the performance is not being great, the disconnect that everyone either wants to talk about or pretend doesn't exist. And clearly, because they sung it, a sense that they feel like they're being blamed in the stands for it not being very good on the pitch, or the fact that Norwich have struggled. And I think it's very hard to blame fans for that. I think there are people who want to. But also, and this is probably the bit that's really niggling me, because this is, people want to look at that and go, oh, 3-1, won't complain. And I get that. I get that entirely. You've come away and you've won a game of football against a pretty difficult opponent, I thought, in Stoke. Awkward. It's been a tricky run. But I don't know of any team that's gone up when, I might be wrong, when it's just not functioning and working and people aren't together. It just seems like a recipe for disaster. So either something is going to happen that molds and grabs everyone and pulls them together, or this fracture is just going to sit and it's going to fester and it's not going to get any better until people make an effort, whoever they are, the people, to repair it. I don't know what, that's just straightforward. I don't know any club where there's a success, where it's successful when people aren't just pulling in the same direction. Because at the moment it's happening despite everyone in the crowd feeling a bit, meh. And some of them feel really annoyed. But, that bit where Norwich ripped Stoke apart in the second half, that was a lot of fun. And the more of that happens, the better we'll all be, I'm sure. Feel a bit for Kieran Dowell. There were sort of grumbles when he came off because of his 4 cheers. And I think that was for Sarah coming on. I hope so. Kieran Dowell's been out with laryngitis. I don't think he really looked very fit, if I'm honest. And Dean Smith wanted to freshen it up, which is why he made so many changes. But Kieran maybe it just wasn't ready, and I like Kieran. He will impact when he gets up to speed, I'm sure, again, because I do like him. Max Aarons obviously took a whack at Burnley. Doesn't start, which I assume therefore isn't because of concussion, because you wouldn't be on the bench if it was because of concussion, because you couldn't bring him on, in theory. I personally think there's an actual debate between who is Norwich's first choice right back when everyone's fit. And I can see Sam Byram. He had to have an injection before he came on today, but he's definitely an option there, I think, as first choice. Ben Gibson came back in and did okay. I have to see the goal back maybe that Norwich conceded. And I think that's it really. Yeah. Good to see Gabriel Sara get a goal. That's a good contribution, but he was quite quiet. I think it was Nunez and Cantwell who really made a difference. And more of that, Todd. Keep doing that. Brilliant stuff. I think I'm done. I don't think there's anything else to say. I've said all I need to say. Have a lovely evening. Enjoy your weekends and what have you. I will be back here on Wednesday for Stoke. No, this was Stoke. For QPR. Yay. So that'll be fun. On the Ball podcast on Monday night at some point, which I'm going to sort out. So look out for that. And yeah. We go onwards. I haven't even looked at the table, but there was a bit of a gap, and Norwich played a game more than some. So I would suggest let's just get through the rest of the games before the World Cup break and see where our Norwich are then. But certainly promising in terms of Cantwell and Nunez, which I think I've said a few times. Onwards we go. Let's get rid of that. Have a lovely rest of your weekend, and I will see you all very soon on the Ball City, etc.